Alright, just gonna hit the record button and away we go. What's up, friends? Friends and family, people. Today is. I'm just gonna go ahead and date this because I don't know when I'm gonna actually get around to uploading this. Today's the 29th of July, 2022. And this is gonna be my second episode. And I'm not even gonna worry about branding this anymore because I have no idea what I'm doing here. So, I'm just going to start talking about things. Yeah, so there's a couple things that I got down here to talk about, and one particular event that I definitely need to bring up. But right now, in terms of the current state of affairs, I believe the last time that I was on. That I recorded, I mentioned that I was still driving as a job, as a career. Still doing that, and I'm still working through getting some things paid off that I need to pay off, and that's going really well, actually. Going very well. I'm hopeful that I'll be more than halfway done with it by the end of the year, but that's pretty much all I'm doing right now. Not really very many interesting things to talk about in that spectrum, I did actually take a load to and drove a load out of Utah recently, a couple weeks ago. And that was pretty intense. That was a lot of driving. But other than that, it's really not much to talk about in this particular line of work. It's pretty boring. But that's kind of what's going on there. So one of the big things I wanted to actually bring up is that recently I was actually involved in a motorcycle accident. Well, I wouldn't even say involved, more or less had a motorcycle accident because nobody else was involved but myself. So it was, pretty much a textbook accident. And I'll put up some pictures right here so you can see the damage and also see the repair eventually that I did to it. But it was pretty much a textbook accident, I guess you would call it. And the best case that any accident could happen, really, because I walked away from it and I also rode away from it. So, the bike is fine, ride's fine, just purely, cosmetic damage, which was eventually repaired. But basically, I was coming around a corner on a country road, and part of the road had a big, giant pothole on the outside of the apex where I would normally be coming out of a corner. And, just beefed it. Now, come to find out here later on down the road when I, last time that I was home, which was last week, actually, as of recording this, I got a new air compressor pump that is really, really nice. I'll actually put a picture of that maybe here or something, but it's the Fantetic. I don't know. It's a really small portable air compressor and has built-in pressure gauges and everything, and automatically fills it up and cuts it off at the setting you tune it to. Come to find out, when I hooked that up to my front tire when I was doing the repairs on my motorcycle, my front tire was running at 25 psi, and it's supposed to be running at about 40. So it was really low when that motorcycle accident occurred, and that would explain why I was not able to steer away from the pothole very effectively. That would explain a lot, because when I went out for that ride, one thing that I noticed is, especially even when I was coming onto the on-ramp, is like, man, I could barely get into the turn coming onto that on-ramp. Like, I was just going wide on everything. So, definitely was a pressure issue. So, note to self, if you ever get into riding motorcycles, or if you do ride motorcycles, don't ride your motorcycle with your tires underinflated. Period, full stop. Just don't do it. It's really bad. It's a big deal, especially when you're dealing with a vehicle that only has 2 wheels. I am fine. The bike is fine. The body was not. I rolled about 5 times, and it took me about a month to recover from what I believe was either a cracked rib or a bruised rib. It was really painful to sleep at night for a while. I started taking, just basic ibuprofen or Advil. I forget what I got. And did that long enough, and eventually the pain just went away, and now it's pretty much good. Still healing a little bit. I can tell when my girlfriend hugs me, it's a little painful sometimes, but it's pretty much all good. I read a 2008 Hayabusa, and so that's a heavy bike. The reason I mention that is because that's a really heavy bike. It's like 600 pounds, something like that. 500. It's at least 500 pounds. I think. I don't know. I'll put a correction in here. But either way, it's an immensely heavy bike. So thankfully, when I went down, this gentleman stopped, and then 2 other kids stopped. So there were 3 people helping me get this bike out of this ditch. It was just like it was literally a ditch, because this is basically a backcountry road in and around a cornfield. It was like right in next to a cornfield where I went down at, basically. And it was one of those situations where the terrain was dug out down. Well, not dug out, but it just dips straight down. So it was like about a 3 or 4 foot decline straight down, basically, right? So yeah, good luck getting that out by yourself. And I mean, even with myself and the 3 other people that were helping me get it out, it still took us a while to pull that thing out, because, good Lord. But, so that happened, and, I did buy a new set of fairings, which I, replaced the last time I was home. This was about a week ago. Everything was fine and dandy. Took me, like, 2 days and an afternoon, or in a morning and a little bit of an afternoon, to finish the whole thing. It was a massive chore replacing those fairings, but that's because it was a straight up learning process for me. I had never done it before. So now that I've done it, I would be able to do it again very quickly, which I'm going to have to. That brings me to part 2 of this story. So I replaced the fairings, and I'm missing a bolt on one side. I'm actually missing a couple bolts, because the underside of the bike, where both the right and the left side fairings connect together, or are supposed to connect together, those 2 holes just will not line up with each other. So I couldn't get a screw in there, or a grommet, not a grommet, but like a pen push screw is what they are. I couldn't get the push screws up in there at all. And so I just left it. And then I was also missing a screw on the right side of the fairing as well, because I forgot to put in this thing. It's like this little clip that basically acts as a screw point for a bolt that goes in and holds the fairing, or connects the fairing to other pieces on the bike as well to secure it. Didn't have that in there. So I go out for a ride with my new fairings. And everything is great until I do a really hard pull. And I'm not going to say how fast I was going, because that would be an admission of guilt, but we'll just say I was going really fast. And so I'm doing a really hard pull, going really fast, and all of a sudden, that right side that doesn't have the bolts on it literally peels straight off. Just the sheer speed caused the whole fairing to just pull straight off. It's kind of ridiculous. I was really salty about it when it happened, but now actually looking back on it and thinking about it, it's kind of hilarious, because I was going so fast, I made my fairings peel off. So, you can't really be mad about that. But obviously I am. Luckily, that was the side of the bike that was not damaged, so I'll post pictures right here as well, so you can see the what it looked like before and after the peel off. But basically, I just slapped on the old fairing that was on there, and now it pretty much looks the same, except it has the original body decals on it, which I don't really like, and it also is a slightly off shade of an orange compared to the fairing the fairing set that I bought, because it's a factory color, and the aftermarket places, they can't really line that stuff up very well. So that happened. So now I'm basically, the bike is still rideable. It's still fun. I'm going to buy a new set of fairings again so that I can have everything be even the way I want it. And this time, the bike is orange, as you probably have already seen in the pictures. This time around, I'm actually going to buy just a full gloss black fairing kit and just black the bike out entirely. Because I think that'll look cool. So, there'll be more to come with that, and hopefully down the line I get to a point where I have, I get myself a GoPro so that I can actually do motorcycle ride-alongs, which is something I really want to do for my channel at this point. Put up some, videos on my YouTube channel for that, because it's kind of my primary hobby right now. Motorcycles in general. Obviously I like riding them, and I also really like working on them. I've kind of transferred a lot of my technical interests that I used to have with computers to vehicles, kind of, per se. Mostly motorcycles, because those are what I have to work on, and I have multiple of those. And I only have one car, so I'm not going to, start Frankensteining with my car. And also, cars are generally more expensive to work on, too, so... But yeah, so that kind of brings me to my next thing that I wanted to actually rant about. This is just going to be a straight up rant, so, I'm going to have thumbnails on this, so if you want to just skip over this and go to the next particular thing, then, there will be a little, chapter selection or some little thumbnail in the description that you can just skip over. But this is basically going to be a rant about how, I'm just going to go ahead and say it. PCs are atrociously horrible gaming experiences. And that is so freaking far from the standard opinion. And I'm going to elaborate on this a lot, so don't get me wrong. Obviously, PCs are immensely powerful gaming experiences to use, right? They're powerful, but they're terrible they're powerful gaming equipment, but they're terrible gaming experiences. They're terrible. And I'm so tired of hearing this game should come to PC, this game should come to PC, or why can't they just put everything on all platforms? First of all, the reason that they can't put everything, and the reason they don't put everything on all platforms, is because having one uniform market is bad, okay? It's just bad. It leads to stagnation. It leads to just an even, neutral style of game development. It doesn't leave open creativity. It just doesn't, because it just doesn't. That's just not how markets work. You have to have it. Having things be exclusive is a good thing. It's not a bad thing. When you have things that are exclusive, it says, sure, if you want to be a part of this experience, you have to buy into it. There's nothing wrong with that. It's the same thing as like golf clubs, like courses, like not the clubs themselves, the equipment. It's the same thing as, like, if you're into motorcycles and you want to go and race on a track, not everybody can just come bring their moped and race around a track, right? You have to, like, actually get some sort of, you have to get, like, a class on your license and, like, so that you can actually be on the track in the first. There's a process to it, and that's a good thing. It keeps things particular. But anyway, besides that point, PCs are really terrible gaming experiences. They just are. And and the reason that I'm talking about this is because you continue to hear it so much. Anytime you get into, like, gaming discussions, you hear about, well, I'll just wait till it comes to PC, or they should put this on PC, or you should just get a PC and you'll be fine. Like, no, you shouldn't, because PCs are like, they're an enthusiast market. There's nothing wrong with them. They're just an enthusiast market. They're not a good gaming experience, though, for somebody who just wants to play video games. They're just not. Because you have to, first of all, if you're making your own computer, which a lot of people do, and a lot of people jump into the hobby in that spectrum and get into it that way, you have to build the thing in the first place. That's a hassle, man, okay? I don't care how many times you've done it, any particular person has done it. I've built multiple computers myself, and I've troubleshooted multiple computers myself. It's just a hassle. It's not easy. And irregardless of the fact that it is, like, fundamentally easy when you understand it, because obviously everything is easy when you understand it, it's a process. It's a giant process to troubleshoot a computer, and you have to do that constantly. If you say to yourself, I'm going to be a PC gamer, you plug in a new game and all of a sudden it doesn't work because you have this driver. So you update your drivers and it's still not working. Now you got to type into Google, click, 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 click. Now you're typing into Google, new Assassin's Creed game crashing on startup, and then you get a laundry list of links probably on Steam, more than likely, or on the Assassin's Creed, or on the EA forum, or Ubisoft, actually, whatever, and now you're scrolling through a bunch of forum posts on how to fix this stupid-ass bug, right? It's dumb. Like, that happens all the time. Now, again, they're powerful pieces of equipment that when they are working, they're great. But overall, as a gaming experience, they're bad. They suck. They're the worst. They're at the bottom of the tier when it comes to that. Everything else is good. PlayStation, Nintendo Switch, even Xbox consoles, everything is just interfaced perfectly to work as is out of the box. You plug it in, you load the game up, and you play it. That's how gaming needs to be. And if I had one thing that I wanted to see evolve in the game, I don't care about the newest graphics cards anymore, man. You know what I mean? Like, quit. All they're doing is they're just making the next best. And that's the other thing about the PC market itself, is that in general the PC market predominantly is a tech enthusiast market. The whole objective of PC games and developers who make games on PC is to get into bed with the tech companies, to promote their products, to sell their graphics cards and their processors and their motherboards and their RAM. Obviously, that stuff's not as important as the CPUs and the GPUs. Those are the main drivers, is the CPUs and the GPUs. And it's all the games that are exclusive for PC are all about promoting those products. Look at the EA, or it's more of the Summer Game Show, I think is what it was called. Look at the PC showcase this year of 2022. Go and watch the Microsoft event, watch the Sony event, watch the Nintendo didn't really have much of an event, and then watch the PC event. All it is one giant PC Magazine advertisement. That's the whole market, man. And that's what I'm sick of. That's what I'm sick of hearing about, and I'm sick of me personally, I'm sick of dealing with it. I don't actually anymore. I predominantly play games nowadays on either my PS5 or my Nintendo Switch. And mostly my Nintendo Switch, because as a developer, I am of the opinion that Nintendo has more of a gamer's mindset than many of the other platforms. But obviously Sony still makes great, has good exclusives on it as well. But I primarily play on consoles because of that reason. Because I use computers pretty much as a tool now, and not as a gaming platform, because I just can't stand dealing with the troubleshooting process of it when I want to play a video game. It's atrocious. I hate it. I can't stand it. To put it into perspective, this particular audio recording that I'm doing right now for this podcast was a process to set up. I turned my laptop on, which I haven't turned on in months, and all of a sudden it tells me, oh, your Microsoft Pin isn't working anymore for some reason, so now you gotta fix it. So guess what I have to do? I have to connect to the internet. I don't have internet. I actually got rid of my internet hotspot recently because it's just like, I'm spending way too much money on that, man. There's no reason. I don't need that. I don't have enough time to utilize the amount of data that I get out of that unlimited hotspot that I had. So it's not worth it. So I had to get on my phone, use my phone's hotspot, and, connect to the internet and fix my password. Or not fix it, but reset it, basically, to the exact same thing. Because for whatever reason, it's broken, right? So that was number one. Then number two was I turned, as soon as I got in here, apparently at one point I had connected my Bluetooth headset to my laptop, right? And it just automatically connected to it because I guess it was on. And I was sitting there trying to figure out, where is my audio going? I can't see. It's a process, man. It's the whole thing is a process. That's what I'm getting at. But either way, obviously PCs are incredibly powerful machines, and they're great when things are running good. And when you get them set up, generally speaking, you can just turn it on and go. But there's always something that you got to do every couple of months. You do not have to do that with consoles. You just don't. At the absolute most, you turn it on and it says there's a system update needed. Click! And it downloads while you're playing the game most of the time. Okay? It's that simple. So, that's my rant, and that's how I feel about all of that. I don't really know what more to add to that particular spiel. Since we're talking about video games here, I'll go ahead and just segue into this other piece of news that I heard about recently. KOTOR Remake is in development hell. I'm going to go ahead and call it that because all the articles that you'll see on this are basically saying that it's been paused, but if you read deeper into the articles, it's paused indefinitely, man. It's in development hell. They fired 2 of the lead writers, I believe, or the lead designers. So they're gone, right? And apparently they had a vertical demo that was for internal use only. They took it to their little meeting thing, and I guess everybody who was working on the project thought it was great. Everybody liked it. They take it to the meeting thing, and then somebody comes back to them and says, this isn't exactly up to snuff. It's not where we need it to be right now. So you need to go back to the drawing board. And now it's basically paused and canned indefinitely. There's no news whatsoever on when development is actually going to resume on this. So that sucks. That sucks royally hard right there, because that was definitely something I was looking forward to. Definitely not as much as Starfield. That was a highlight of this year, especially at the Microsoft conference. That was probably the most hype I've been in a long time for any kind of game whatsoever. So, really looking forward to Starfield. And I will definitely be taking quite a bit of time off for that particular... Well, I wouldn't say quite a bit of time off, but I'll definitely take some days and plan to take days off, probably a week, around the time that it comes out. But that's not going to be for a year. I will probably do that on a PC too. We'll see. It'll either be on PC or if they release it on the PlayStation 5, I'll do it there. Or I might even just get a Series X, honestly, because honestly, it's cheaper to get yourself a freaking Series X and play video games on that than it is to build a new computer. That's another thing about the PC market right now, man. It just costs too much money to get into that hobby anymore. It's so much money. You're looking at $2,000 minimum if you want a high-end computer. It's going to be more than that. It's probably more like $2,500 to $3,000 to build a high-end, fully high-end, decked-out rig anymore. That's too much money, man. That's so much money I could be spending on motorcycle parts and gear and like other hobbies, like models and stuff like that. Or even just video games on consoles, right? It's just too much money for such a small thing. Now, if you're somebody who's actually using a computer for the full range of what it's capable of doing, like full video processing, editing, and all that kind of stuff, and then you also use it for work-related purposes and gaming-related purposes, then it's definitely something you're going to want to invest in, obviously. But it's just not for me right now. Saw a movie recently, which was really good. It was called Where the Crawdads Sing. It was also is also a book. Was a book first. So that movie was really, really stinking good. Me and Abby, my girlfriend, we went to see it together. We both really liked it. I was actually genuinely blown away by how good that movie was. I was not expecting it to be the full breadth of what it was, but it was just so unapologetic in all of the different topics and how like it presented itself and how it narrated itself. It was just really, really, really good. And I'm really glad to see that movies are being made more, or movies are still being made like that, because, you know, I've been of the opinion for a while, since probably the mid-2010s, that we kind of have entered a stagnation period in the cinema in the cinema world, because there's just a formula for everything, especially like the Disney world and like all the stuff they produce. Like, you know, recently I watched, I actually haven't even finished the series, but I started watching the new Obi-Wan series, and that series is something, and that story is something that has been so long in the making that every Star Wars fan wanted to see, like, what happened in this time period, right? What happened post Revenge of the Sith, and what does that look like? And they obviously wanted to see Ewan McGregor again, and, bless his soul, and good on them for making it, and it's great that they came back to do it, but it just wasn't very good, in my opinion. It just, so much about the writing is just basic Disney bad, and it's just not good writing material at all. And they are so lucky that Ewan McGregor and Hayden Christensen can carry their bad scripts the way they can, but it's just, it wasn't for me. I didn't even finish it. I have seen most of all of the really juicy stuff on just YouTube clips and YouTube videos. So, it just, I'm just really tired of that formula stuff, man. And it sucks. It hurts my soul a lot, because Star Wars has always been this like thing that I really enjoyed. It was this universe and this franchise that was so valuable to me growing up as a kid, and just knowing that it is just full bore in the Disney vault now, like it's their product. It just sucks, man, because they just, Disney makes great stuff for kids. They make great cartoons and great animation stuff, and I love all that stuff from them. But they just can't write a live-action, serious story for the life of them. They can't. And they also won't, too. Like, they've actually said that they will not, under any circumstances, which they've actually got backlash for recently because of the Deadpool movies and Logan, which they put on their Disney Plus network. They said a while ago that they will only release PG-13 style content on their platform. Period. Full stop. They will never release R-rated stuff. Man, that is just so lame. That's so lame. And if you're going to do adult-oriented content, and let's say, call it what is, live action content. If you're going to do live action content and you're going to say we're never going to do rated R, then you may as well only stick to teenager type content, because when you put adults in PG-13 movies, it looks like a PG-13 movie. It doesn't matter what you do with the visuals, what you do, what actors you bring into the picture. You could bring Al Pacino into the picture and, have a PG-13 movie, and it's going to look like a PG-13 movie. It's going to feel like a PG-13 movie. It's ridiculous, okay? It's just limiting. And it's a really bad image for Star Wars. And, I don't think Star Wars was ever not PG. I think it was always PG-13. Let me fact check this real quick, actually. Do this in real time here. Star Wars New Hope. We'll just go with that one. Let's see here. Rating. What was this? It was a PG movie. Yeah, so basically I'm ranting about nothing, because Star Wars was always a PG film. But it was a PG film with a good writer on deck, and we're just going to go ahead and end it right there because I basically just made myself look like a fool. Not really, but yeah, I mean, that's another thing. Is George Lucas actually knew? See, the difference before I close this out here, I'll go ahead and say this. The difference between George Lucas writing and Disney writing is if you go back and you watch the older Star Wars movies, even the prequels, you will have two characters talking to each other for longer than a few seconds, right? Because that's all you get out of Disney's formulaic style of writing. You get like a few seconds of dialogue and then shift, we're on to something new. Boom, zap, we're going, right? And that's it. That's what you get. You don't get two characters and two actors standing across from each other actually having a real dialogue and being able to explore their character fully. You don't get that from Disney. That's the biggest difference between Disney and George Lucas. And that's pretty much all I have to rant about there, so I'll go ahead and just close this out right here. We'll see when I decide to rant about something else again. Probably be another time here sometime soon because I'm just going to start doing this and I want to do this more, but it's really the only time I'm really going to do this is when I have something that, when I come up with things to talk about and say, so it'll just be at the tempo and at the rate that I do. So until then, take it easy.